Anti-sway bar bushings.
Pardon?
Anti-sway bar bushings.
That's what was
Torsion bar,
Are they?
talking about the torsion bar bushing,
Yeah, sway bar.
Front?
That sway bar that goes across like that. And those bushings,
that's a torsion bar
okay,
on a Volkswagen.
huh? It's called,
Mine were bad, the rig was just sold.
mine, they're anti-sway bar.
What happens is, and the way you usually tell is you going down the road, you hit a little crack in the road, and you hear a thump.
Oh, yeah, I can get them and wiggle it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just loose.
I replaced mine. a couple
How
years
did, that's
ago.
what my question is, because I went through 2 sets of them trying to get them things in there. And,
It ain't easy,
huh?
it ain't easy, but you just back off, do it slow, and they go right in there.
Because they are split, you know.
Yeah.
But golly, man, I was wondering if you have to drop the tie rod or something to.
Well, what you really gotta do is loosen the torsion bar. If you go back about, I don't know, about 3 feet from where that bar's at,
Yeah.
you'll see the
Yeah.
bolt
yeah.
and nut.
Yeah,
You loosen those up,
And
so
then-
that bar will move around.
okay.
Yeah.
Because that's where, I couldn't get it, I mean,
Now, if you don't loosen that, you probably never get them in there.
well, I got them in
Because
there.
it's gonna be
but-
pushing
but
up.
You know what ended up happening, they broke on, they broke pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that rubber,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I got them in there, and we, I think that was when we went to Natchez, Mississippi. And going down the road, man, it was just as quiet as it could be. I was like, oh, man, I got it this time, you know, then all of a sudden, man, and I knew, sure enough, I got down there and looked, and they weren't even in there.
They're actually, once you get in there, you can get in there and actually see everything. That goes around the bar,
Yeah.
and then you slide it in there, but it's actually, on the outside of it, it's actually got a groove. And the part that holds it in there has to go in that groove to keep it from sliding either direction. And if you do it carefully, it'll work.
It worked. I'll try it again. I did find out though, there's 2 different sizes.
Right.
Of those.
All of them that I've ever seen are the 27.5.
Yeah, that's what.
Big one. Standard Volkswagen is 23.5, but it's 27 or 27.5 because it's a truck chassis.
Yeah.
They used it in ambulances, all that stuff we were talking about earlier.
Where do you get them? Where do you purchase them?
Euro parts,
Your part then?
they got them.
You want the phone number for Euro Parts? 858 0020.
What is it?
858 451 0020. Talk to Justin.
Is Steve pulling your tires down?
He's kind of like you. He just has to hang around the shop all the time.
Justin does a great job.
I went by there, I don't know, a couple of years after Justin started. Steve was in the office and I said something about him retiring and Justin said, yeah, I wish I could get rid of him.
It's his son.
Justin's son, he's the one that's taking over. And Steve said, well, Justin, at that time, Justin was at about, he figured about 80% on familiarity with parts and all this stuff. But there are some things they only sell 1 or 2 a year. And he hadn't sold one yet, so he wasn't real familiar with it. And Steve started Euro Parts because he was like us, he just couldn't see paying outrageous Volkswagen prices for parts. And so he set up his business and he still does wholesale a lot of stuff from Volkswagen, but he gives the mechanic discount, cheaper prices to get from him, and then he doesn't mark it up as much as the dealer does.
I called him one time and I said, I need whatever it was. He says, really? And that was a big red flag right there. I was on the wrong path. He said, what's your problem? And I told him, he said, well, you don't want to think about this.
Yeah.
And he was right. So he was a world of information.
And he'll say, we've never sold one of those, I'll have to see if I can get it. I'll tell you what, the ultimate answer is 42.
I didn't get it, but that's okay.
From the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh.
Computer worked for a bazillion years and decided the ultimate answer was 42, but unfortunately by then they forgot what the question was. It's actually the meaning of the life, the universe, and everything.
What was your other question?
The the Volkswagen air conditioner up front, the cab air conditioner works so good. It's like really cold, at least in mine. Really, really cold up front while we're driving. Sometimes I just wear a little flannel shirt. Really, really cold.
Do you turn this one on?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
If you have the overhead, you
Yeah.
have to have that fan running when you turn on the dash.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's why I had to replace my little blower up there, because I always just leave mine on 2, then I don't have to worry about turning it off.
Right.
Same thing.
My question is, every so often, it'll start up, and I know it works really well, because it's cold in there, but I'll smell a little musty, kind of old closet smell for the first 2 minutes or so, and then it just kind of clears
Do
away.
you run it in recirculate most of the time?
Most of the time.
If you run it in recirculate, it gets condensation in there. So one thing you can do and see if it'll help any is when you're approaching home,
Right.
a mile or 2 before you get there, turn off recirculate and let it pull fresh air through there and try to get some of that.
But it does smell like old water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what it is. Okay. Judy.
Also, on that, the drain pipe, the drain hose for the thing,
Condensate.
if you get down
Which
there on
one?
the back and that little, all these technical terms, flappy piece of
It's a drain line.
tubing, I had a wasp nest up
Yeah,
That-
there's actually 3 of those.
That'll back up.
on
and
both sides.
it'll, cause I was getting like
Drain,
rain
drain,
inside,
drain.
but once I got,
It's, the front one you can't hardly see because it's actually above the transmission. But and then there's one under each door, just behind each door up under there. And it's about that long, and one end of it's round and it's on a hose, and the other end of it is pushed together like this.
It's a flapper.
Yeah. And it's made to stay shut until something gets above it, like the water, and then it'll force it through it gradually open a little bit. There's actually a modification you can do that those things are together too far. So if you go and cut it down somewhat, try not to cut it too much, but you want to cut it so that minimal is actually stuck together. That way it's easier for it to open.
One of the ways I always check to make sure my drains were working is on a warm day, air conditioner's going, we stop, we go in, I change it, fuel, whatever. As I'm walking back to the rig, I look underneath on each side, make sure you see a puddle. Now, if you're cated like this, you want to see a puddle over here, of course. But anytime you're reasonably level, look under each corner and make sure that you see a puddle.
At
That
least
way,
2 of the 3.
one on each side.
Well, you'll never see the middle one, because like I say, it drips right on the transmission, and it's so hot, it evaporates immediately.
Evaps. Another thing that just hit me, and I wanted to catch it before I forgot it. Underneath the driver's seat, now this is for those of you that are more electrically inclined. The battery system in the coach has to have a ground, okay?
a what?
Ground wire. In other words, plus and minus. You gotta have a ground wire. The ground stud, why they put it there, I do not know, but it's on the underside of the frame, under the driver's seat. Get to it from underneath. And it's a bolt that is actually welded to the frame. And it's exposed to the elements, especially salt, and it will oxidize. And if it starts to insulate itself, you will get some of the weirdest electrical problems you could ever imagine. Takes a 1/2-inch combination wrench, loosen the nut, and if you're out on the road, shake the cable right good, tighten it back up, and keep going. If you're at home, where you can take it apart, clean it correctly, put it back together, maybe with some dielectric grease or something like that. But if that thing starts insulating itself, it'll drive you to drink and figure out what it is. It's just nothing but a ground table.
But it's a major ground.
It actually goes out of the coach battery compartment. It
Yep.
goes out the front, it goes down underneath there, so you'll see the cable there.
And it's gotta get down on your hands and knees and look up underneath it, and you'll find it. It's about that long, about 1 inch or 2 long, and it's held on on there with a 1/2 inch nut.
And it grounds the.
And it grounds the coach battery.
The coach battery,
Yeah.
not the shaft battery.
Coach battery.
We had some of the craziest electrical things happening. I don't even know where to begin. It was like we had ghosts in the thing.
Yep.
But,
We all have that goes.
yeah, but no, so I was changing the solenoid out in the coach batteries, and underneath it, whatever that little, I forget the name of it, there's a five amp fuse on each side of it.
Yep.
Well, one of those fuses wasn't even in there.
That's you got a new one then.
Huh?
You got a newer rig?
2004.
Yeah.
But I plugged that, the fuse wasn't bad, it was just, I don't know how, it was just laying out, like it was someone.
That's the battery disconnect relay.
Right. And I plugged it back in, well, my electrical problem stopped.
Yeah,
Do you think that was it?
probably.
If you plugged it in and it works, that was it.
That's what I did.
Warranty to it.
That's right.
Got 2 trees.